All right. So we're going to start today's presentation. So thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight. We're going to introduce ourselves and then just go over what the presentation for tonight is going to be about. I'm Alyssa Ventura. I'm the Assistant Community Planner for the Neighborhood Initiatives and Environmental Services team at the City of Santa Ana.
Hello everyone, my name is Frank Bajarano, Associate Community Planner with the City of Santa Ana and the Initiative Service. Well,
Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Shannon from Charitable Ventures. I'm the group behind Santa Ana Grants for Blocks. It's really nice to meet you all here tonight.
All right, so the purpose of today is to kind of go over how to access funds that some of the neighborhood associations have under Santa Ana Grants for Blocks, which is under Charitable Ventures. So we're kind of going to go over like step by step what is required, who to reach out to, the timeline, like how long it takes to access the funds. So yeah, we'll start the presentation.
bienvenidos a todos. Me llamo Frank, Alyssa y Kelly y vamos a estar repasando lo que son cómo acceder los fondos que están en la cuenta de Charitable Ventures.
Okay, so the agenda for today, we're going to go over who is Charitable Ventures, as well as neighborhood leaders are going to share some of their successful and challenging events that they've had. We have Ruby Wu that's going to discuss, and hopefully we have someone from Santa Anita as well as understanding the steps required for neighborhood events. So we have some documents in a packet that I'll go over later on. And then also when signed agreements are required. So if you want a vendor to provide a service, Charitable Ventures does require an agreement, and that does take a couple of weeks. So we'll go over when that would be required so you guys know how to plan ahead of time to onboard vendors. As well as gift cards, stipends, honorarium payments. Kelly will go over that. Grants, donations, fundraising that can be done. As well as you guys sharing highlights, how to document and evaluate any events that you have. Just so you know, we can share with, I'm not sure if you guys get our email blast that we send every week. So that could be something that could be done, or in the city manager's newsletter, just so people can understand your successes, you know. I know that some neighborhoods have their like Instagram, Facebook accounts. That's another way. And then we'll go over neighborhood event ideas. So if you don't know where to start, we have some ideas for you. And definitely if you guys have other ideas to share, feel free to do that. And how to become your own nonprofit. If any of you are interested in branching out rather than going through like, you know, through us and then Charitable Ventures, you guys can just directly, you know, deal with all the processes that are necessary. And then at the end, we'll go over questions and comments that you may have. Yeah. La agenda para hoy vamos a discutir quién es Charitable Ventures. También va a haber unos líderes que van a discutir cómo han ellos usado la cuenta de Charitable Ventures para sus eventos. También cuando se requiere contratos, porque si necesita una compañía, un servicio, se va a necesitar un contrato. También cómo comprar tarjetas de regalo, si necesita eso. También para recibir donaciones o si quiere buscar para fondos para su vecindario. También queremos que ustedes comparten información o evalúen sus eventos que tienen. Y también vamos a dar ideas para tener un evento. Si no sabe a dónde empezar, vamos a hacer eso. Y si está interesada en hacer su organización propia para que no vaya con nosotros, con Santa Ana Grants for Blocks, pueda hacer directamente con Charitable Ventures. Y al último vamos a tener preguntas y respuestas.
I don't know if anybody really knows what Charitable Ventures does and who we are. So I want to give you a quick background and then kind of explain how we work with Santa Ana Grants for Blocks. About 4 years ago, right before COVID hit, Our CEO was actually at a meeting with the Orange County Foundation, and CEO of that group turned to her and said, there's a lot of nonprofits out there that really need just kind of how to become a stronger nonprofit. You need to do this. So out of that quick conversation came an entire round of Charitable Ventures is now supporting 30, actually we're at 41 brand new, and some have been existing for a while, nonprofits. We are basically an incubator. So we try to support everything that you all need. With Santa Ana Grants for Blocks, it's supporting you guys out there doing what you're doing. We're trying to make sure that there's an understanding for budget, that you know how to do insurances, that you get the big picture on how to make sure, like even through all the Instagram and Facebook, how to get your events out there that your neighborhoods are so proud that you're doing. We are there to support anything that you need, questions that come up, and kind of that bigger picture. And we hope that what we're doing is growing your ideas about how to make your neighborhood stronger and better. Charitable Ventures basically works directly with Santa Ana Grants for Blocks, who obviously works with you. There's been a number of you though that have been in touch with me as some of the events have gone through. I'm very happy to do that, but we really always want to make sure that you're channeling with Santa Ana Grants for Blocks for everything that you do need. We'll keep referring back to that over and over. So what we've got here basically is the ability for their team here to come to me, and I'm able to run it up through any of the insurances, any of the questions that you may have. That is what my whole part of it is. We're going to explain a little bit because you've also got the city of Santa Ana mixed with what you all are doing too. So I'm one part of it all. So just hopefully that's a little clear. If there's any questions about where I do come in on this, please just put your hand up, because we do want to make it clear tonight about what I can do, what I'm happy to do for y'all.
Okay. Un resumen de lo que ella dijo.
Try that.
Ella trabaja para Charitable Ventures en La Naranja. La organización apoya 41 diferentes organizaciones, grupos, vecindarios. El tipo de apoyo que ellos brindan son lo que son presupuestos, les ayudan con aseguranzas, los diferentes documentos para que sean exitosos en la programación de sus organizaciones. Entonces, ella comentó que es importante en comunicarse con nuestra oficina cuando vayan a hacer un evento, porque hay diferentes requisitos que su organización pide, pero también al igual la ciudad de Santa Ana.
All right, so to start off, we kind of want to go over how neighborhood associations have used these funds as an example, so you guys can kind of learn from their experiences. And we actually have Ruby Wu here from the Artesia Pilar Neighborhood Association. So she's going to go over her Posadas event and how it was to access her funds for event.
We've been Artesia Pilar, Ruby Wu with the Artesia Pilar Neighborhood Association, and that's the association that is right behind Santa Ana College, all the way from 17th Street to 1st Street, Fairview to Bristol. We're one of the bigger neighborhoods. Part of it is the neighborhood is very low income, medium income. We got a little bit of everything. Closer to college, it's a little bit more affluent, the middle, and then low income. So we try to blend all that in. I think one of the things that you're missing about Charitable Ventures is that at our neighborhood, we're a little more low income people. We don't know all the paperwork and the tax and governmental laws that go with this. Unless you have a lot of people like Washington Square who have more affluent and more college people, that paperwork takes a lot of time. And that's one of the problems that I had with Artesia Pilar. And when you're fundraising for the Posada, for many years, the city would send a letter out for us that we could use to go to each of the businesses. And we approach all the businesses, and they're really very well to give you, like Northgate would give us champorado and pan dulce, which was really good for our posada. And then some others would give us food. El Indio, I have to be really big, please. El Indio on Fifth Street every year would give us free chaparrado, and it's a small business. And we would give them a letter for tax purposes, which they really took on. And they would also not even accept it, and they were very good. But there are a lot of businesses who would not, and you have to give them information. And a lot of the businesses that we asked money for didn't know if we were credible, because, you know, if I mentioned to people Artesia Pilar, they just, And so the credibility of the city, having a backing of the charitable ventures, that we have a tax ID is very important when you're doing these activities, and people know that that is going into the neighborhood in itself, even though it's very important to have a flyer. So like said, for 20 years we've been doing it, and the process has really changed from some of them would trust us with that, but we wanted to get more money, so it was more adventurous. And then we were also, Dr. Cutler taught us how to do some grants, which was really difficult because I've been a hairdresser for 40 years. I have done any office work, and a lot of my members in the organization were, you know, working. We were just hardworking people. None of us, most of the members that I've worked with were not office people or computers. And that has been a real disastrous for our neighborhood, because we've slowly begun getting more of you young guys in the association to do some of the paperwork. And that's what Charitable Ventures has done for us. The technology has been more advanced, and, you know, in our neighborhood, we're not as advanced. Not talking about anybody, but as advanced when we're doing these events. And for many years, I'm giving you an idea. We're very jealous of Floral Park, you know, because every time I passed through there, they had a concert. You know, I would have to go all the way to Orange to get a concert. We wondered why we couldn't have one in our neighborhood in itself. So we were bringing those things up, and we're inquiring and asking, and they raise monies with the different fundraising events that you have, and you have to have the credibility of fundraising and asking the businesses for monies, the tax ID. So that has been really crucial for us. And then the city councilman had monies for these kind of events. So it's one step at a time. And then we finally, you know, there are some people in the neighborhood who not know how to do paperwork, but they do know how to put a party together. So with that resources in our neighborhood meetings, we put together one step at a time, and we raised some funds. Also, we're in the process of we decided, since we can get monies with charitable ventures and get people to improve the quality of our neighborhood, we had a mural that we're in the process of trying to preserve. So we got some funding for that, and it was quite a nice little chunk. So we had to put it somewhere. And basically, we've been just kind of learning what steps we can. And most of the neighbors in the neighborhood are good fundraisers within the business, but trying to get businesses to tax IDs is very credible. And they would put the monies there, and then we could been doing our events. We did a concert. Of course, I don't know if you've been doing movie nights. We used a food vendor out there, and to get people and to get more. We did this to get people to know that we're in the neighborhood in itself, but some of the events that are, and we don't have to go to Floral Park. We've had it, you know, a couple in there, movie nights, and it's just been one step at a time. But the credibility, I think, is the biggest thing with Charitable Ventures, is that we do have that tax ID number. We could ask, there's resources, people that we bring on, that we could put our money in a safe place. And we started to do some more fundraising too for the different activities that we had. So I think I said it's a few steps. There's a lot of other things going on, but building your neighborhood is very important, having it, because a lot of people in the neighborhood don't drive, a lot of them walk, and so it's nice to have those kind of convenience. And the resources in the city has been terrific for me to provide help, resources, and putting that money so we could cater our events for our neighborhood and for the culture and community that we do have. And so one step at a time. So anybody wants to ask any questions or?
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah.
How many people do you have on your board?
I have 5 people on my board and I'm trying to build it. Right now, we picked up a few, like I said, younger people like Nancy Fan and her resources. And I'm hoping to get other people. We're going to be having some leadership training because I've been on the board a little bit too long. I'm not going to resign, but I like to have some more younger people because there's those activities. Also, they got to learn the resources of what the city has. I think is very important because I'm very proud. I was raised and born in Santa Ana, and I lived a very poor community. I lived in the poor side of Artesia Pilar all my life. And I didn't think I could do these things, but I'm going on. I didn't think I could do these things because I don't have the skills, but it's amazing who we pick up, and I talk to everybody. I hold myself back when I came in, so I talked to
Question. So are you developing your own neighborhood leadership training?
Well, we're trying to right now. That's why we have these events. We're out there giving the resources. This is what we have. We could provide. We have had for the last 20 years. We have neighborhood cleanups. We've had yard sales in our neighborhood. Just telling people what resources we're having, what the neighborhood has and the city has, and what resources you can bring to us. But I'm really finding out there's a lot of people who have resources that could help the neighborhood and better the neighborhood. I mean, if you can complain your neighborhood and your neighbors aren't doing very well, it's because you're not part of it or finding some answers. So I try to be a little positive.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Ruby. All right, so. Oh, yeah. Lo que dijo Ruby, ella es parte del vecindario Artesia Pilar y estaba hablando sobre este vecindario. Lo que le gustan del Charitable Ventures es que ellos ayudan con el documentar para accesar los fondos. Como no están tan organizados, eso es la ayuda que le gusta sobre tener la cuenta Santa Ana Grants for Blocks. También dice que nosotros podemos dar una letra que dice que si alguien te dona dinero, ellos pueden recibir un recibo de la donación. Y también lo que dice de ciertos eventos como las limpiezas del vecindario. No sé si ustedes lo han hecho en Cornerstone, que eso ha ayudado para atraer más gente para que ayuden a la asociación. Y también dar información que la ciudad tiene para que pueda enseñarles más a gente que quieran estar más involucrados en el vecindario. Entonces eso es una Ajá.
Antes de pasar a la siguiente slide, con visual, somos un grupo chico porque no hicimos introducciones de todos los que están aquí, ¿verdad?
Okay.
Entonces, nos van a decir su nombre y el vecindario que están aquí representando. We didn't actually, when we started, we didn't do like a quick round of introductions. So let's just go around the room and please share your name and the neighborhood you're here representing. What's wrong?
Hi, my name is Cindy. My name is Salikelia. Hi, everybody. My name is Naomi. I'm one of the council. and I'm also a local resident, so I live here in San Juan. So hope you know. I'm Marta Rodriguez, and I'm on the
I'm Leslie Martinez. I'm with Lighthouse Community Center representing Cornerstone. Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Soledad Valentín. Vengo de Cornerstone Village, en la calle Mini. Gracias.
I'm Christina Dursa. I'm with the Morrison Park neighborhood. My name is Janelle Hardy. I'm president of Heritage Park neighborhood, South Main Street neighborhood, on the other side of South Main from here. And so I'm representing.
Oh, Felipe Guerrero, I'm president of the Santa Anita Neighborhood Association on the west end of San Ana.
Thank you all.
That's perfect.
So perfect timing. We have a couple minutes to share about your event. I got so far during holiday season for the Christmas event.
Oh,
Do you wanna
the Nino.
Talk about,
Yeah.
you know, kind of like the event and how you interface with charitable ventures or our office, you know, how to access all the funds and all of that, how that worked out.
That was our,
I'm sorry. So it's being-
oh man. Hello again, my name is Felipe Guerrero, my leg's out. Anyway, that was our sixth event. Oh, next to this side. Oh, they can hear me, right? You guys can hear me?
For the recording.
Oh, for the
online.
recording.
Yeah. Thanks.
Anyway, again, my name is Felipe Guerrero. I'm president of the Santa Anita Neighborhood Association. The Christmas event we had this year was held at the Campesino Park in Santa Ana. And it was our sixth, going on the seventh. I think it was our sixth. Anyway, it was great. We had a great turnout. We raised a lot of toys. Most of them were donated by what's the name of that group? A toy group. Sparks of Love. Yeah. Anyway, our experience with hey,
No, Kelly.
Kelly, yeah, it's really great. What I advise you guys to do is plan your events at least a couple of months ahead of time so you can deal with neighborhood initiatives. Neighborhood initiatives, they're great. They're fantastic. They do a great job in helping you. The only problems that we have with are usually with the health department. They changed the rules on us. So they helped a lot on that part. And yeah, and Kelly was great. As far as the funding goes, again, I said, plan your events ahead of time because that funding does have to go in before. We learned that the hard way. In the beginning, I didn't know what the heck we're doing. I'm sorry for the language, but like I said, we've been doing this for 5, 6 years now. And it's all about the timing. That's all it is with both neighborhood initiatives and Cali of Charitable Ventures. And I guess that's it.
Yeah. Thanks, Felipe.
Para resumir, Felipe Guerrero del vecindario de Santa Anita, y él platicó sobre su evento de Navidad que tuvo en el Campesino Park. Y la recomendación que les da todo el grupo es planear sus eventos con tiempo para tener las discusiones sobre cómo hacer los fondos, ya sea con nuestra oficina en la ciudad o con Charitable Ventures.
And I just want to jump in a little bit here. There's a couple of things that I really hope that you all, when you leave here tonight, feel like you know much better. And first is resources between all of us. You've actually got great size with the city and you've got Charitable Ventures. So you've got a bunch of resources available and we hope it's clearer for you once you do get out of here tonight. And the second part is, I don't know if you two really want to be mentors to anybody, but the experience these guys have had, like Felipe just said, 5 years putting things together and you can do well and you make mistakes and you keep going and you learn. I mean, the wheel doesn't have to be recreated. Part of this is creating a network between you all. Make sure that you stay in touch and that you can ask questions for what they've done. They've built things ahead. Bushel Square is huge and has done extremely well. So please, you utilize each other's experiences here to make life a lot easier in the big picture for everybody. Okay, thank you.
Lo que dijo Kelly es comunicarse con los líderes de aquí que ya tienen la experiencia para usar estos fondos, así para que se puedan ayudar, para que no todo sea de repente y sea mucho para usted. Entonces esa es una recomendación.
Entonces, una de las preguntas que recibimos cuando hicimos las invitaciones es de qué tipo de, para los vecineros que no han tocado los fondos, qué tipo de eventos son los que se pueden tener. Esa es una lista de ideas, pero no son todas las cosas que pueden hacer, ¿verdad? Todavía hay más. So some of the events or event ideas that came up during the conversations or the invitations is like, how can I access these funds? What can these funds be used towards? This is just a sample list. There's definitely a lot more events or programmatic elements that you all can incorporate to anything that you want to use your funds for. But the list, neighborhood cleanup events, a tree planting project, murals. Some of the neighborhoods here have applied their funds for murals, been very successful in that. Community gardens, a neighborhood watch program, neighborhood street fairs, neighborhood representatives attending city council and school board meetings, back to school supplies giveaways, national night out, neighborhood cookouts, welcome neighbors packet, and t-shirts. Entonces, una varias de las ideas incluyen hacer una limpieza del vecindario, un proyecto para plantar árboles, para crear murales alrededor del vecindario, jardines comunitarios, o un programa donde se cuida el vecindario entre vecinos, una feria de recursos, lo que son hacer como si fuera un tipo de regalos de útiles escolares, ya sea carne asada, un paquete para la bienvenida a nuevos vecinos al vecindario y camisetas del vecindario que representan pues el vecindario.
Is there anybody here who has not put on an event yet? Is brand new to the neighborhood? Okay, please ask away. And if we're not being clear, I mean, I'm kind of assuming a lot sometimes as we're speaking. So please jump in and say, don't have a clue what that is. And, we'll start and just go a little bit deeper for you. No problem at all.
I can ask you a question. We have events in our neighborhood, but I've never worked with Charitable Ventures with them. So,
But you worked with Santa Ana Grants for Blocks?
no,
Oh, so it's all brand new.
well, we have money in the Charitable Ventures account because we did a fundraiser where we needed the tax ID.
Yep.
So we have money that was departed, profit, I guess.
Yep.
Was put in that account, but that's the only time we've used it.
Perfect.
So when we're talking about monies in this account, where's that money coming from, or is that what you're going to talk about?
Everybody who has a neighborhood and is under Charitable Ventures, which means you're under Santa Ana Grants for Blocks, has a bank account, your own bank account. So basically, you do have funds that are being held for your neighborhood. And Melissa's been great about making sure that everybody's in touch with what the balance is. And some of you are very busy, so that balance changes all the time, and others are quiet because they have some funds sitting there that absolutely can be used. Are you aware right now of where you're at in the account?
Well, I only know the money that we put in from our fundraisers. But when you're saying we have a bank account, is there any other money in there? I mean, is that?
Just
is that it?
what, yeah, just
It's just-
what you have in there. Yeah, I think myself and Frank emailed you guys, telling you what your balance is and that, yeah, that's what you have.
Okay.
So one of the things you really want to focus on, kind of going back to that previous slide where it's all the different events, depending on what you've got in there, you may want the people in your neighborhood to do some fundraising. If you want to go a little bigger for your first event, I got 3,000 in the bank and I need to be at 5. Or if you need other funds, we talked about some grants. We're going to talk about it later in this presentation. So do know what your money is that you're going to start with. You might want to have the neighborhood kind of really vested in. If you could raise another $1,000 from the neighborhood to make them feel that they are part of what's going to be going on in the event, changes everything. I think that's just very, very strong if you're making sure that the neighborhood's very involved right from the start. So that can help. Then you know how much you've got going on and build from there.
So are you talking about where, because we're not a 501c3, so if we want donations in the neighborhood, the neighbors could donate through charitable.
I'm sorry, I should have been clearer when I was talking about charitable ventures. I do assume
Well,
sometimes
only 'cause I'm coming from, we have our own neighborhood and we have a bank account and
separate, yeah,
we've never used, the only time we've ever used it is when someone wanted to do the
Yeah.
donations, but. since
Yeah,
we
you wanna
don't have
spend it.
tax ID,
yeah, 100%.
But now I need to know how to skip to the money.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy. It's not tough at all. Basically, what you all need to know is that as a neighborhood and with the bank account, you are using our Charitable Ventures 501c3. So when Ruby was very wisely saying, you know, you need that tax ID number to go to Northgate or to go on any of the different groups around here that are very kindly willing to give food and supplies and all of that, you'll need a letter that basically says that. That's our number. And really honestly, when we have to come back and talk about insurances and when we have to talk about what is needed on forms, that's why you're using our 501c3. We're the one that has to go through the audit and be prepared to make sure y'all are safe and that the risks are down to nothing. So God forbid an accident would happen or something, you're safe and you're covered. That's a large part of what I do. So I don't want to be a compliance cop, but sometimes you feel a little bit, but that's basically what you've got. You're in a very safe kind of protected plan. You've got these guys knowing for both charitable ventures and also city-wise what your resources are. And then they could come to us, you know, you've got certain funds with us. So on any event, we're going to go through this a little bit, but kind of talking about it here with the budget. You don't have to just use charitable ventures funds that you have in the account. So be clear about this. You've got $3,000. I'm just going to pull that number in an account sitting there. Your event might cost you $8,000. No problem. I mean, if you could go out and find through the city, correct? And if you can find through other grants, which we've got other resources to give to you, then you are able to utilize those funds you've got with charitable ventures. You're able to utilize Santa Ana city funds. Council people are really good, I think, about having some funds that they can put into events. And then you've got others where you can do fundraising and you could get out and do grants. A couple of the neighborhoods have done what's called a VA 58, fantastic loan. I'm sorry, a grant for $5,000. I mean, it's a ton of money. You know, the little event went from this to this because it was $5,000 that they got to spend on that. Amazing. I think we've had 3 with the neighborhoods, right? At least 2 utilize the VA 58. It's a really simple grant. You can come talk to me about it. It's like a page and a half worth of an application. Hang on one second. I think you had a question.
I think you answered it. Thank you.
Oh, okay, my pleasure.
I had a quick question. So we're with Lighthouse Community Centers, and I know we kind of briefly talked about how we're not necessarily like, we're not owned by Cornerstone Village. It's more of like we have a partnership with them that we pay rent and they let us use their property. If we use their money, do we have to get any sort of approval from Cornerstone or like management? We don't have to do that.
Yeah, so Cornerstone itself is, yes, it's an entity, like
Yeah.
a property management company. But Cornerstone Village is like
The whole
the neighborhood designation. That's like part of the city. It has
Okay.
nothing to do with
So I don't
management.
have to.
You don't have to talk to
PNC or
anyone, no.
anyone.
Yeah, no.
Okay, okay. Just wanted to-
It's the same with KidWorks, you know, they have the center out on off of Evergreen, I'm sorry, Cedar and Edinger, right? And there really isn't a group out there that has been like convening the neighborhood, but they are actively serving that neighborhood right now. So that's why they were invited to be here, just like yourselves, right? So
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so basically you've got funds sitting with, everybody does have funds at Charitable Ventures, but you're not just limited to that.
Mhm.
So be sure that's a really important point for y'all to go home with tonight. Okay, any other questions? I'll try to be a little bit more in depth or get my thoughts.
On that question, right, so then people will ice with them on the fires of the site as part of the law,
no, the Cedar Evergreen.
save the cedar.
Yes. That's the designation that we have with Turtle.
So to be honest, your first step is to work with the team, Santa Ana Grants for Blocks. That's your first step. I'm going to get involved. You're going to know me. I'll be there. And you may end up having to, Ruby, I know we ended up having to go direct back and forth on a couple. There's been a couple of different events that fine by me. Met Felipe and was so proud of when you ended up getting that Sparks for Toys. It's excellent. Excellent. So we're there as one of the resources, but I think we're very, very important for you to know that we're there. And so you can start and get bigger and we got an advice and we can support you. Okay. That's very, very much what we're doing. Okay, so let's say you want to do a concert. Spring is coming up. We're a couple months away. It'd be a perfect time to start planning that kind of something outdoors, right? So basically what you're going to do is you have to create an event profile. The one form, may I hold up your form if you don't mind? This form is a form that the team here would really like you to know what to do. Going to give you the steps on what you need to do to start, sort of plan your year. Is it the whole year that you want them?
Yeah, we would like the whole year, if you know, like in advance, like we want to plan out. And there's like a chart in the back that kind of lets you kind of detail and plan out what you want to do for the year. That would be ideal. And then on first page, it kind of tells you the steps on like how to contact our office, what information we would require you to kind of think about. And then just like what approvals are needed for church ventures.
So for some of you know what you're doing. You know, you're going to come to them, make the phone call, and you're going to already kind of know your steps. You can know that the budget's going to cost you $3,000. You're going to pull up this, and that, and you'll be able to really have a quick conversation. But if you're brand new, call, you know, and have a conversation about what am I going to now have to go get and come back with, and make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. It isn't as huge and crazy when you basically have had the conversation ahead. Get all that lined up and be able to chat with them directly. And if there's any questions, because there are times, skate clinic, it was great, wonderful, great to see the kids, but insurance wise, it was just a red flag. And it was just like bruising, but it was wonderful, but we learned a lot, you know. Start those ahead. Anything where there's going to be kids and ramps and skateboards, always start early. Believe me, it's important. So those are just some practical things, you know.
Lo que brevemente, ella platicó sobre lo que son los pasos que deben seguir. La primera cosa es planear los eventos en avanzado. Recomendamos que lo planeen por lo menos un año en avanzado. Si ya saben que lo que va a hacer, los presupuestos, todo eso, esa información se colecciona aquí en esta carta.
Okay, go ahead.
That again, or do we?
Yeah, so we can definitely send you guys a PDF version. That way you have multiple copies, and if you want to like write it down and then send it to us, yeah, we can definitely do that.
Calmly, you sent us a letter that can detail our name, kind of like the first question of, you know, what is our entity name and all the details, the tax ID and all of that. So do you send that out to all of the neighborhoods?
Yeah, so we can actually, after this, we can send it out to everyone. So it's an introduction letter that basically states that your neighborhood association is working with the city of Santa Ana under Santa Ana Grants for Blocks, and introduces yourself and also provides the tax ID. So we could definitely do that and provide it to each and every one of you.
Okay, so if you're getting back to the event now, basically you've got this written out, you kind of have contacted Frank or Alyssa, and you're talking through what it is you need to do. You're going to work with the monies that are in the account. If you need others, pulling on resources to get all that pulled together. What this team, Alyssa and Frank, are going to do is go into our system in CV. We're going to end up going in and doing a whole event profile. We need to know your budget. We need to know what is going to go on, the dates, who all is going to be involved, approximately how many, kind of anything that you can think of that's going to happen, food trucks, vendors, just get that overall picture down on paper. It may change, we understand that, but we really want to get as much thorough thinking ahead of time as can be, so that you're ready, so that we can get ready and get back to the team about what questions, and we need this, and what about that, and what are you thinking for this? I need more detail. Those kind of questions are going to be real common. So it's a lot of back and forth, but that's when an event ends up happening. The budget, want to be clear on this. We've already mentioned it a couple of times. You're only going to put on the budget that you're discussing for charitable ventures, what the money you're going to spend from charitable ventures account. If you've got city funds, that's not our account. We're not worried about that. So if it's charitable ventures funds, that's what's going to go on that budget. So you're probably going to need two forms of your budget, one that's got everything on there and one where you're like noting it's going to be charitable ventures monies, it's going to be city or wherever else you might be pulling funds from. Okay, so basically all of that is going to go into our system, has to be approved technically. And what approved means is got 2 or 3 different sets of eyes that are going to come in and give it a real once over. I get tons of questions back from the team, and then I've got to come back. If I can't answer them, I'm going to ask these 2, need this, need that. We meet every other week. So we go right through every one of the events and start talking it through. One of the things we want to make sure is some forms that you are going to have at the event. You need to make sure if you've got volunteers there, that they're signing away, that they know they're a volunteer and that they're willingly, there's no repercussion at all, that they would get hurt or that they have some kind of a problem. You want volunteer waivers filled out. You absolutely do. Shouldn't be anything too crazy. They sign the bottom, they date it. That's all it's going to be. Some of the details about the event, of course, and then you need to hold on to those forms. Need to repeat that. You are going to hold on to those forms. You're going to get copies to these guys should you want, but ultimately, if we at Charitable Ventures need it, we're going to go through and ask them to call you and say, we need copies of those volunteer forms. We're going to need to send it. So hold on to those. Go ahead.
For the volunteer waivers, do you provide that waiver or can we use our own? With Mariners, we have all of our volunteers. So my mind automatically goes to the block party, which we put on every year.
Good.
So we get like over 100 volunteers that come to the church who are already like passed through the church. Are we able to just like piggyback off of that waiver and just provide you that copy, or do you guys provide your own? Or we would have to provide that
We
one?
definitely have our own, but if I could look at yours and get the
Okay.
approval from my side that it's got everything we need, you're happy to use yours.
Okay.
But I would probably need to see it and okay it.
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing but, and congrats on getting 150 volunteers. That's fantastic. Man, that's huge. That's incredible. That's awesome. Okay, so is this any questions on this, kind of how it's rolling out? You will not be on the portal. These guys will, but it's heavily involved with what y'all are writing out, what you're going to be doing.
And then I wanted to know, the event profile is page 2 in your packet. You kind of want to get familiar with it. Entonces estamos discutiendo sobre las formas que se necesitan. Nosotros lo llenamos, usted nomás nos llama y nos dice el evento, cuánto va a gastar con el evento, qué va a comprar. Entonces la segunda página es el profile, es lo que va a describir el evento y después los que va a comprar. Entonces, the budget form is on page 4, I believe. So page 4 is like the budget form, and it's like an example. I'll definitely send you all the Excel sheet so you can actually like plug in what your budget's going to be. And then there's some items that are listed there, some examples, but you can obviously, put whatever you'd like on there. And then the volunteer waiver form is towards the back, I believe page 10. So that's what it looks like. And I could send you guys a PDF version of that. Yes, page 10. So that's what the volunteer waiver form is. And we can provide you with copies if you know how many volunteers you'll need and you guys just fill it out. Yes.
Are all these in other languages?
You can have-
Ooh, I don't know all of them, honestly. I'll go back and check. And confirm.
Especially
Absolutely.
Vietnamese, and then all the other.
Yeah, perfect.
I will check and see what we got. Absolutely should be, and I don't. Okay. Couple of things I just want to go through on the details. So go back just for a second. I want to make sure that you understand on insurance. It's always insurance, insurance, insurance. Look, it's a necessary evil. We all know it's there to protect us, and it will absolutely save your neighborhood and everybody's getting it done. City permits may be needed. So there isn't just Charitable Ventures insurance that you're going to be talking about. There's going to be city insurances too. So please start ahead knowing that if the larger the events goes, the more permits are probably going to need to be pulled. So please have patience and understand that it's just part of what goes on in life. We all know about insurance and it's just a critical part of what's going to happen. So it will be asked again and again. Sometimes you're at a church that needs to make sure that we as CV are additionally covered. It might take 3 or 4 or 5 calls to that pastor or the church secretary to get it going, but that's what has to happen. So there is going to be work in some cases to knock on those doors and make sure they're getting the paperwork completed. It has to be there before the event. We will make sure it has to be. One of the critical factors is this line talking about vendors. There's a lot of different ways that vendors want to be paid. So you're going to get a food truck, let's say, in. Could be that they're just basically dropping off food, or even better, and this is a hint, if they have food ready, they're not cooking it. It's basically, packaged, and you're going up and you're buying a lunch box, or you're buying whatever it may be, snack, then they're just handing it out. That is a really simple form. The health department doesn't have to be involved with that. The food isn't being cooked there. You begin to learn there's certain levels of where more and more entities drop in on you. So if you can make it as simple as could be, all the better, all the better. But if talking about paying them, so you have this great service of caterer that's going to drop off, even if it's El Pollo Loco, right? You're going to buy the food ahead. These guys can have a debit card. They will be able to help you purchase these things directly. You're going to bring that in, and basically you can pay for that online debit card. In other words, you're not going to have a check mailed to somebody. But there are certain people that's the only way it's going to work. They're going to need to have a check mailed. We have to go through a whole process to get that vendor into our system. And it's a few forms. There's a W-9. They have to give you usually a quote. And then having a second, they're going to give you a quote. And then we've got to make sure that we've got all their insurance is covered, that if there's anything extra, I've got copies of that. So sometimes it is easier, and we've all learned it is simpler to be able to pay with that debit card. But there's just times when the reality is you're going to have to pay that person by check. Give us at least, and I'm talking at least 2 weeks. We got to get them onboarded. There's always a form. There's always something that's missing. They need to have a website. They need to have a business card. We need a few facts about their company. So we're going to ask for all that detail. Shouldn't be too tough, especially after you've done it a couple of times, but it's just going to need to be. Then we have to put it into our system. They won't run the check that day. There's only twice a month we run checks. So it's going to take a bit to get them paid. We want to make sure that you're aware of what to tell the vendor when they could expect their check. So we'll always try and be as clear as possible, but there's quite a few steps on all of that. So the more that you can pay by debit card or online, it's just simpler for you. But the reality is you'll have to pay both ways. Okay, and you had a question.
So Palm has annual meetings. They do big event. This last one, Santa College, we had a vendor that had to get onboarded, and it's if we're not saying, do you have a list of all the vendors already onboarded? What we can just take a look at?
Yes, please ask.
Would you share that.
The list is huge. I'll tell you, it just ask and say, we need a food truck, or we need a whatever it is, desserts guy. Please just do that, and we'll pull up, because you don't want the whole list. Some of them, they come and go too. So I want to make sure that they're active, and I'll do a quick check before we even get you back names of what's going to be. So absolutely, I think that's the easiest way. They're already in our system. They would still need to have a quote, right? We got to make sure that our finance department's understanding you're going to need a check coming out, and they're probably going to need a W-9 if it's not active right then. But if they have one, yes, it's already in there. It's a lovely thing.
It's a whole other. I don't want to go into detail.
Okay, I am giggling because I'm only 10 months into this position, and the petting zoo story is like, it is renowned in the department. And if you say petting zoo, everybody just giggles a little bit.
Well, there's things.
Yeah, it's insurance. It's a thing. They don't like kids and pets and cows and sheep and goats. They just don't like that. The risk is huge. So yes, you absolutely can, but you're going to have to give us like a month. You're going to need to know. I would even ask for 6 weeks. I got to be honest. It is not easy. There's going to be additional insurance. It's going to cost a little bit more. You have to be aware that is a risky, as silly as it sounds. It is. That is the one thing. And I've only had one other of the neighborhoods come back and say, well, we're thinking of doing petting zoo. I'm like, boy, you can, but it's going to be involved. So please be prepared if that's what you're after. Your turn.
I was just remembering that our last street fair block party, the one thing that almost came crashing down was when we had to get our fire permit. And they wanted to know what size generator for the portable stage or whatever. Oh, God. And then they had to have a check. The city came to our rescue at the last moment, but You have to really plan ahead for
The
that.
timing on that, those things.
Idea.
Yeah, yeah, and things you don't even know. So honestly, that form that y'all we're just looking at, that's why we're talking plan 4 events ahead. Get things already started with these guys so they know if there's city involved and if there's charitable ventures, we're all aware then.
It sounds like you're been talking about insurance through charitable ventures. How does that differ from the smart insurance? through the city?
So any event that's on city property, like parks, street closures, that requires insurance through the city that they provide. And when you apply through there, since you're under the neighborhood association umbrella, it's covered through risk management. So you guys don't have to bear the cost. But any event like on private property, it would require insurance through charitable ventures. So they will provide that. Yeah, so unas cosas que discutimos es aseguranza. Es muy importante que su evento tenga aseguranza. Entonces planear unas semanas antes ciertos eventos que es en área pública, como en la calle, en el parque, agarra aseguranza con la ciudad. Pero si es el evento en un lugar privado, entonces requiere que Charitable Ventures cubra esa aseguranza y se toma un tiempo para recibir esa aseguranza. También si quiere agarrar un vendedor que va a dar comida, se requiere unos, necesitan que ellos aprueben a ese vendedor y hay unos documentos que ellos tienen que llenar para que puedan usted pagarles. Entonces se requiere más papeleo, pero sí se puede hacer y se toma tiempo, pero nomás hable con nosotros y le podemos ayudar en eso.
So say we needed, say it was private property and so we needed to have some insurance through Charitable Ventures. Does Charitable Ventures charge us for that insurance? Or not? How does that work?
We already have some insurance already in place. And I'm gonna say 7 times out of 10, it covers it already. Does need to be noted, we have like a day certificate at the day of the event. You're covered and it's all noted by the insurance company, but
So
let's-
part and parcel with when we take the money out for the event, or is it like?
yeah, you know, in
separate?
that form that we've talked about, the event form,
Mhm.
when that comes in, that starts all sorts of processes going. One of them is going to be insurance.
All right.
But I want to also get your deeper brain going. On that budget sheet, you understand that certain things, only the things that are going through charitable ventures need to be on our budget that goes into us. You remember that? Okay, also need to know that if we're only covering food and some water or drinks, and we're not involved with the city, with what, an open park area. So charitable ventures won't have anything to do with the insurance. We may ask to be an additional insured, depending on what you're doing, where you are. Most cases, we don't, I'd say what, 50-50 we need to be. So start to realize that because you're only putting certain things on our charitable ventures budget, we're gonna only need to be covered for those things that we are paying for and involved with. The city's there for the other parts, that's where the insurance questions are gonna fall. So these guys are really, really your guides through all of this. You're gonna need to have the conversations ahead. And they're gonna know that, that's Charitable Ventures, we're going there. That's city, we're going there. I have to ask them all the time. What are we paying for? What's coming out of that account? And we literally go right down the line. Okay.
Thank
Anytime. Okay, so I think we're pretty good. Please read the screen. Do not spend your own money. Do not spend your own money. We cannot reimburse you. Don't spend anything and then have to call and say, oh, I paid for this because it was too late, or I just ran out and got it. We won't be able to reimburse you. I need to really make that clear. We can't. We won't be able to pay you back your money. These guys can be paid back. The team at Santa Ana Grants for Blocks can be paid back. You personally cannot. So we need you to understand that that phone call, that last minute phone call is going to be to one of these two to say, we've got to run out and get whatever the last minute thing is. Don't spend it on your own unless you want to buy it yourself. Okay, it's that cut and simple. And I've had heartbreaking things that I've had to just say, can't do it. We cannot do it. Okay, super important for y'all to realize. Thank you.
Pues, creo que no se hacen reembolsos personales, que no gaste su dinero personal para algo, para un evento, que no se va a hacer ningún tipo de recurso.
Oh, sorry.
Well, that's kind of funny to me. Well, we have every year a pumpkin festival. So this year we had some more games. And that's, I bought those games and I donated. So then I just use the tax exemption letter as my.
Is
my
your donation to it?
So you can do that if you feel, and I donate.
Great
So I
way.
do that.
Great way.
Because I enjoy the little kids. We have drawing. Anyway.
No,
It
you're
doesn't
quite right.
stop you. You could use your donation money, said that you contributed so much on that.
Completely right.
Yeah, but quickly, yeah, you won't get reimbursed. By these things.
Mhm.
That happens.
Yep.
Because there's so much legality with it that I've learned in the last 20 years. First event, nobody paid attention that we were closing the street down.
Small things.
And, you know, there was just neighborhood type thing. Everybody got chairs, but then found out. So
Arg.
now now.
Yeah, we try and make it as simple and bring up the questions before, so there isn't that panic mode.
Can I roll with you? Yeah. Christina, so I'm with Wilshire Square, and what I find to be the most effective one, considering this is we have our own bank account. And so we know that we need to go buy something, we do have our own bank account, and we have big expenses. Because of the church that we find that.
Completely true.
Middle line
Right.
to, be able to just buy stuff if we
Right,
need
right,
it,
yeah.
but also, be able to have it.
See, please split your brain into like 3 parts, if you will. You've got a charitable ventures part, you've got a city part, and then you may have other resources, completely other resources that come in the bank. It's a different bank than ours, but you've got 3 accounts then, if you will, going on. So you've got resources out there. You can spread out a bit. And that's the way I can imagine being treasurer. You are hit with all of that, trying to keep everything straight, It's a big deal, but that's what you've got out there. So it's not just one little area that you're dealing with. You've got a big city also and a whole other planet out there.
Well, it's kind of scary because you have, like you said, your own account, you have the city, and then when you deal with Parks and Rec, a whole nother issue when you're trying to plan events. So this is just adding another layer in there.
Well, and I'd honestly suggest, I'm sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
Okay.
I'd honestly say then, especially when you're starting out and learning more, do just work within one realm. Make it just a charitable ventures in Santa Ana, Grand Central Blocks. They do recommend city. So that might be the simple way to start in, right? So you get a little experience and a little more about what's going on. Then maybe one of these people that has Ruby and Felipe that know so much, they might be able to really help explain, we want to do Parks and Rec. This is going to happen and that's going to happen. And these guys have incredible experience.
Well, I know the Parks and Rec part, it's this part I've been doing.
Yeah,
So
okay, then yeah,
This could be an added tool for us.
when we're
A
going,
resource.
please know that we are a support team for you, that my job is not to say no. My job is to figure out a way to say yes. And it might not be the way we first were thinking about it, quite honestly, but we'll figure out a way to say yes. And then if I can't, I can't. I will come back, but I will have tried a number of different ways to see what we can get done. But my job is to say yes, to figure out a way to say yes. Okay, so we're there for it. Any other questions?
Para todos los eventos o también para algo más, como por ejemplo, ¿verdad? Mi manera de pensar, yo conozco mi comunidad, que yo vivo ahí más de 30 años en esa comunidad. Y yo creo que la gente tiene tanta necesidad por todas las cosas como están caras. Y entonces yo pienso que sería muy maravilloso que les donaran una tarjeta para que ellos compraran sus alimentos o algo más necesario. Esa es mi manera mía de pensar. Otra cosa también, como dijo primero, que se limpiara la calle, que se plantaran árboles, como por ejemplo hay árboles que se están ya cayendo y hay que reemplazarlos para que haya más, para que se mire más bonito. Pero esa solamente es una pregunta de- para ustedes, pues no sé qué es lo que, cómo tomé mi pregunta.
No, see, her question was, if, other than events, if they like donating gift cards to residents within the community and, tree planting. So that's another thing to beautify the neighborhood. Sí se puede donar cartas, tarjetas de regalo. Nomás habla con nosotros y nosotros preguntamos cuántas tarjetas quiere. Felipe los ha usado para donar de $50. Lo único que ahora se requiere es tenemos que preguntar permiso a ellos y ya después a la gente que usted le va a dar las cartas, ellos nomás tienen que firmar que lo recibieron. So you can definitely use gift cards, to donate to people. Felipe has used them. The only new thing that is happening is we have to get approval from Charitable Ventures beforehand in order for us to purchase them. So just let us know ahead of time. We can go to Smart and Final. We've bought in like $100 gift cards. You do need a form though to have the person that you're giving the gift card to sign off that they received it from you. And then you just give that form back to us. I think it's in the packet actually. There's a gift card form. Page 5. So that's the gift card log that you guys will fill out. Página 5 es lo que usted va a llenar, la persona que va a recibir la carta la de donación de regalo. Nomás ponen su nombre, cuánto recibieron y firman. And yeah, it's that simple.
Sí, yo pues pensé desde cuando yo venía, yo digo, pues para la comunidad, ahorita que todo está muy caro, carísimo, y yo pienso que la comunidad necesita para comprar su comida.
Sí, eso lo podemos trabajar.
Ajá, sí,
Tenemos que pagarles para eso.
ajá, sí, yo puedo hablar con ustedes.
Sí, claro.
Gracias.
Follow-up question on that, because we completely said community, but on this. So how do we navigate the funds for it? Is that something that we have about community leaders?
You have to work with them to do the decision, how ideally work convening the neighbors and discussing, hey, we have funds, what do you all envision? I would advise this thing for kids as well. And make your top priorities and work with us to let us know what we are choosing to use the funds and these different forms, and we can create event profiles, budgets.
When would you use a gift card? What are examples that you give gift cards out?
I know that in the past we've used it for like volunteers or like I guess to like kind of
Thank yous, in my mind.
Raffle them off.
Raffle.
So then we had raffle them off to give for the event. So we would raffle them off. What else would we buy? For volunteers, for meals, we bought gift cards for Taco Bell, sandwich places.
We've had some where the artist had one gas money.
Yeah,
So
gas,
they're able to
gas
get gift
also
cards
counts.
to support the artist during the meals.
So that's technically not an event, so we wouldn't have to fill out this event form.
You're it's in between the both. It probably is going to be tied into an event. So it's probably going to be on the budget. And at some point it has to be tied back to an event. So otherwise, are you just getting, $100 worth of gift cards? So what are you doing? More explanation probably is going to require an event.
So as an example, maybe a general meeting for the neighborhood, we wanted to offer gift cards.
Yeah.
That would be
Very simple. There'd be nothing to filling out that paperwork. You get it, that maybe you have the log there. Like one of the meetings, I want to say you guys did that. It was like a virtual spin of the dial, and everybody that was there had their name in, and they handed out with 4 or 5, I think, different gift cards that were great.
That's good.
So yeah.
I think with that much money too, that you would have to have a real good discussion what you want to accomplish with that. It's just because we give cards out to people first week. And then we have basketball contest and we used to do that for private. So we do the private and we do the for events. For that. And that also our goal is always to know about the neighborhood association. And we're going to be neighborhood.
One of the things I think you need to think of too is to know that if you want new people coming in on your board, to kind of get that recruiting, maybe they can help you with a committee for one of the big events that's coming up. And you can say, you know, if you, you give them $50 and a gift card as a thank you, or, you know, it's just a simple kind of way of saying you did a great job. I don't think the board's appropriate to receive, because that's what they're there for, is to support and work. But anybody else who you're kind of thinking of, maybe they've been a great neighborhood leader, not on your particular, but you know that they're just doing a great job on their block. So you do want to kind of bring that out and just say thank you. They went above and beyond for something. You really want to make it where there's a purpose. I think like what you said is exactly, it's at a meeting, did a raffle and everything, got $10 on a gift card out the door. It kind of just gives them a little bit of something.
Últimamente, varios de las que vinieron están recomendando por el uso de las maquetas, no nomás así de la tarifa, pero tener una meta más grande para crear seminario, una comunidad más fuerte, que se conozca. Entonces, las tarjetas se han dado no nomás en eventos, pero también en reuniones. Para que la gente venga y se activa. Pero sí, lo de ciudad también comentando sobre los árboles, que hay árboles que son propiedad de la ciudad, de obras públicas, tendría que saber de ese proyecto. Y también hay organizaciones que también regalan árboles. Si es que no hay fondos en la ciudad para reemplazar los árboles. Le ofrecieron otras ideas para lo que es
Okay, so I've been going on about charitable ventures and our forms and all that, but we want to hand it off now. So your team is going to talk about the city and what you're going to do with that side of it.
Yeah, so I kind of listed the forms on this slide, what Kelly was discussing. The event profile, an example of like what questions we'll ask, like when you contact us, is on page 2 and 3. Just so you familiarize yourself with the form, as well as the event budget form. So I have an Excel sheet that I can share with you all. It'll be easier than the page that I printed out. The gift card log was discussed, and also a list of forms that are required when you onboard vendors. So Kelly touched on it. You need a W-9 form. It's on page 6. A scope of work example, which is basically what the agreement is, what their service is to you, how much you're going to pay. The questionnaire for some of them, website or business card, and then the volunteer waiver form. We've gone over those. So now event requirements. So a lot of you guys are familiar with like a special events permit. So yeah, any event that's going to be on a city street, city property, parks, is going to require you to go through the special events permit process. Here's their email address. There's also a website if you don't know where to start for a city event. And they're really responsive, so definitely send them an email. And you'll also be in contact if you have to do a street closure with PD in terms of like a traffic control plan with Public Works as well. A land use certificate. Here are some examples that would be with the planning department if you're going to do like a sidewalk sale, carnival. And this is all on private commercial property. Entonces, cuando usted hace un evento en la ciudad, si es en un parque, si es en una calle pública, va a tener que entregar un permiso con la ciudad. Y aquí está el correo electrónico, ellos hablan español o nos puede llamar a nosotros y le podemos asistir en cómo llenar esa aplicación. Si va a ser un evento en una propiedad privada, pero va a ser venta, también se requiere un certificado del Departamento de Planificación. Y también hay una página donde puede encontrar más información, pero si no sabe a dónde empezar, nos puede llamar a nosotros. Additional permits, we kind of touched on it. So OC health permit, if you're going to be serving any food, making any food, they're going to require a permit. And it does get extensive, especially if you're going to be preparing the food on site. So here's the contact information. And then we could also share their website that has more information. OCFA, if you're going to have any canopies, generators, if you're going to be barbecuing, they also require a permit. So the more items that you have for your event, it does require more permits, unfortunately, from other agencies that, but I have the contact info here for you guys. Building and electrical, that would be with the city, and generators. But I think OCFA also touches on it too. And then insurance requirement for city events. Here's a Sparta link, but when you contact the special events people, they give you that link and they let you know like, hey, complete this and then your insurance is approved. And then other expectations that sometimes get forgotten is like the trash pickup for events. So I know in the past we've provided like receptacles that you guys can fill out, and then we could coordinate with Republic Services for them to come pick it up on a Saturday. So just let us know, and that could be an option.
We do ask a 3-week minimum for us to be able to make the request with Republic Services so that they can go and pick up trash and also provide the receptacles.
There was a situation too where the trash receptacles got locked behind the gates and they weren't available for the trash to be picked up. So we have to have some, put it someplace that basically that on a Saturday it's going to be picked up or whenever it would be ready.
Otros permisos que se requieren que no son de la ciudad es del condado de Orange. Requieren permisos si va a cocinar comida que va a dar. También el departamento de bomberos del condado requieren ciertos permisos si va a tener, si va a cocinar afuera. También aquí está la información de la aseguranza, si va a ser su evento en propiedad pública. Y también otras cosas que pensar cuando hace su evento es para la basura que se va a hacer. Y nosotros podemos ayudar en eso.
As we're going through all this, I don't want to overwhelm you. Honestly, that's what we are here is to support and make sure that it's a this form, it's a that form. Just get that done, send it back in, and we'll make sure all the checks are marked off on those forms. Reason I bring this up specifically is we had talked briefly about paying an online vendor. You can do it by debit card. It's a very unique situation, easy, it's done, it's finished. You're going to have to show a receipt for that charge, right? You got a signed agreement. Let's say it's a catering company, you're getting tables and you're getting linens and they have chairs. They're going to require a sign off. You cannot sign, it has to be charitable ventures. Now, I want to be real clear. This is when the caterer is on the charitable ventures budget. The money's coming out of your charitable ventures account, right? If that's the situation, we, charitable ventures, have to sign that agreement. It really isn't you. It's not. It is charitable ventures that's agreeing to that. Doesn't happen too often. I've got to be honest. We don't do too many, but it does occur. So it's as you kind of start to get smart about what you're doing. I don't want to say smart, experienced about what you're doing. You'll learn. Yes, well, if you're going to go this direction, and that is something that's a very important step to know. But there is going to still be times when we just have to get it signed. We just need a little bit of time. I'm going to say a week to 10 days. To get it through our system and get it signed off. That is a very, very important part. We're going to ask for the W-9. We're going to ask for a business card, their website. It's going to be that same thing. But it's that quote that they're sending you, the scope of work. They're going to want it signed. That's us. Okay, pretty simple.
Cuando hay un vendedor que requiere que el contrato sea firmado, ustedes no tienen que firmar, sino la organización Charitable Ventures, porque ellos son los que nos están comprometiendo en hacer el pago para cualquier de las sillas, mesas, equipo para de sonido, lo que sea, ¿verdad? Entonces, el requisito de firmar viene de la organización Charitable Ventures y tienen que firmar.
Okay, we've kind of had a quick conversation about gift cards. It's one of the most active areas that there is. One of the most incredibly important point from my point of view is that gift log. They have to get a signature. In fact, I know Frank called me at one point going, oh, we didn't get a signature. You know, we've got to get a signature. You have to know that we are being audited and that it can't just be one of these guys signing every one of those off. That means they got the gift cards. That isn't going to work. So we have to be very consistent and know that we are going to ask, this team is going to ask you to send in that gift card log. It has to be signed for every one of those gift cards that we issued out to you, has to come back as signed off and in somebody's hands. Okay, it's going to be incredibly important. And we're basically going to need to know if you work in the event, probably 2 weeks ahead, 3 weeks ahead if we can do it. And if even in the budget, you're going to need 10 gift cards, or you're going to need 20 gift cards of $10 each. You're going to know those amounts, list them in there. That's exactly what's going to need to be in the budget. Know going in that these two are aware of what your gift card needs are. We understand that there may be last minute things that suddenly get added on, that they are here to help. But we're also going to need to get the budget updated to reflect that. So be a couple of steps. You want to get it as settled down as you possibly can, well ahead. But I can't go over strongly enough how important that gift card log is. Somebody at your event needs to be responsible for stepping up to the person who's getting those gift cards and saying, please sign right here. Quick and easy, done. We need that to be done.
Did you supply the lot? Just somebody to see your-
Yeah, the form is in your packet and we've got other copies of it. No problem. They can send it by email. Okay, I just want to make sure that there is an understanding out there that a stipend or an honorarium is available. I don't think a lot of people know that this can basically be done. Let's say you've got an intern that's here, you know, I don't know, we've got UCI interns all over the place, it seems right now. So if they've done a great job for you, you might want to give them the stipend at the end of it. You might want to do $50. It is a check that's going to need to be issued to them. It's not a gift card in this case. So it's a check. We're going to go through a few steps with it, but basically it's a thank you for somebody who's done an excellent job. An honorarium comes down to when, if it's an expert, we've had a bunch of different people who like baskets. So we've had a bunch of experts in basket put on events that at no cost, they were bringing in their expertise that they wanted to talk for an hour and to have people build a little basket. So they had an idea how tough it is or how difficult it is to create a beautiful basket. In that case, they weren't asking for money, but the group wanted to give them a thank you. So they put an honorarium form in place and just, they gave them like $50 or $100, whatever you feel is appropriate. It's a thank you to that person. So whatever you feel you would like to, that's an available step for you. One of the most important points for both you and even more important for the person that you're giving this to is at $600 and more, they're going to get a tax 1099 form. That means they're going to pay taxes on it. So you literally want to go up only to $599. Stay below that, they're never going to get any kind of tax form. It's a true thank you then. But it's something that you can use. There are two different forms. I'm sorry, it's the same form, but two different kind of purposes. A stipend is going to be when somebody's actually kind of completed something for you, where an honorarium is going to be more, maybe it was a presentation or they facilitated something that they're an expert in, but they didn't ask for any money.
Who can take those requests from? It's just, you know, say Ruby, you know, she's the president, she gets to call the shots for where the money in the neighborhood is. Or is it like a whole form where, you know, everyone on the board has to sign it? Treasurer has to be approved. Who do you take direction from you shoot those on?
Just like a discussion, like if you let us know, hey, we spoke to the board, we all agreed to do this, or you
So
know,
anyone on the board could call and tell you.
yeah, if you guys are all in agreement, I mean, we will take your word for it. We don't really want everyone to sign off on it. It's just basically you telling us, yeah,
No documentation, no.
Well,
It'll be-
you might want to have documentation within your group, but I don't think we're requiring that from the group. Does that make sense to you? Like the form will go in, they will complete it in our portal. It's not going to ask for those approvals, but they might want email from you and from whomever else is saying, yeah, you know, we want to do a $50 honorarium, got to give the name and so forth. So we've got that already written down. So if your board comes back and says, who did that? You know, we've got our proof showing that it was requested by a proper person, but within your own controls, you might want to have something that's signed off. Maybe your treasurer and your president needs to sign off.
What about if the stipend or the honorarium is for minor, like some of our team leadership groups that might be helping with a particular event and we want to give them awesome things for helping? What does that look like? for minors?
We've not been told that there's a problem with minors. I think it's more a parental thing that you on your side need to know. That's being discussed and that this is a cash gift that would be, but for us, there isn't a limitation on age. And we do have some kids, like, there was a group that did kind of flag football, and they had a couple of the high school kids that came in and they wanted to give them stipends for that. And they were like 16 and thrilled to death that they got their $50. And it was wonderful. You know, it's a wonderful thing. That's going to be a memory they'll have forever. So yeah, absolutely can do that. But I do, parent had to be
I do have
involved.
some experience in stipends for youth for many years. So there is child labor law for the state of California. You actually have to follow it. And preferably you want to stay below $600 or less for the whole year. So essentially it comes out to like $49 a month. However, you can have a
To the same person, Frank?
to the same person. A
Okay.
job, you can't have a job description. Either they can't, you work, so there are some limitations. Summer is different than during the regular school year, so they could work more, or work more hours, but then that you're going to another, it's not necessarily stipend, you actually provide something that's not a stipend, they're gonna be part of it. You just have to be mindful, there are some like limitations, but yeah, this is more for like one-time things.
Correct.
Right? versus-
In fact, if they're producing a service for you, that's not a stipend.
Yeah.
That's not. You have to be very clear about what you're doing. There was never any money that was going to be exchanged. You've decided to give a gift of dollars. And so that's kind of walking down that road. If they've done a service, that's a whole nother plan. That's a vendor. We have to put them into the system. They're going to get a check and
So I'll give you an example. So if you have like a say youth coming in to volunteer for an hour a week, to help someone with homework, then, then at the end of the month, if you're like, here's a little something for your time, come in, helping volunteer in our center. Person.
And it also might be an end of year appreciation for any volunteers, when you have your night where you're taking everybody in who's done any volunteer work for you. And that would, when you might want to do gift cards or you want to do a stipend to them at that point, do a big thank you.
And how long of a time frame are you talking about from when you request it? Say
We,
if we want to do a year and our elections are in the end of the year, if I wanted to do at a general meeting, gift cards to people attend either the wheel or whatever, how much time would I need to put the request in to get the gift cards in time for the meeting?
So we need approval from Charitable Ventures. How long would that take?
I'm going to say 2 weeks.
Okay,
It's a lot, but I mean, we could probably do it shorter, but I would prefer not to. So I'm going to say 2 weeks and then you're gonna have to call and say, well, it's 3 days from now and I'm gonna have to jump through hoops.
No, and I'm gonna say a month at least, because
Perfect.
I mean, because I'm used to dealing with some people at the city,
Perfect.
not over here.
That's perfect.
And yeah,
More is better.
so once you send it,
more is
to them-
better.
yeah, so once we send them the approval and they say yes, it's very easy for us to go to the store, buy the gift cards, and we could like then drop it off
They're
to
gonna
you, or you come pick it up.
Okay,
So
Very
yeah,
easy.
yeah,
I thought you said we could go to the store and say, no, we can't spend our money.
no, it's
Correct.
just- okay, okay, good.
They're gonna
You
win
can
it.
go to the store with us and purchase it.
Honestly, that would be the easiest way, yeah.
Because last year we had, we had neighbors on Flower Street, if anyone's gone on North Flower, either last year or the year before, they put up arches all on both sides of the street. They started with their own, and then all the neighbors wanted. it. So these three guys, we call them three wise men, they not only offered to help, but they would build everything, put them up, and then tear them down for the
Oh
people.
my gosh.
And this year they did it throughout the neighborhood, anyone that wanted it. And so we came up with a neighborhood spirit award for the three. But I never thought, I mean, I could have done the second thing. They did it again last year, so maybe.
Yeah. And I don't think enough of anybody knows about this. So it's a great thing to do.
Yeah, it'd be a great thing to
Yeah.
say, a way to say thank you. to them.
Absolutely it is. That's a
Thank you for
perfect
that.
example of where to use that.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect example, one-time thing.
In a person's W-9. Might not have. What were the different types of forms of identification that you would accept?
Well, they have to fill out a W-9. I mean, we'll give you the blank form. They're gonna have to fill it out. You can, and I'm not supposed to be saying this, so I'm not saying this. You can fill out most of it and have them sign. I did not just say that. But basically it's got to be filled out. They're gonna have to fill out a W. It's a website. That if they've got a website and a business card and a W-9. But that requires the social. I think somebody else would have to fill it out then, when you're gonna have to find.
Thank you, then do they need, it's just a thank you, they still need a W-9? They're not performing a.
If it's a gift card, you don't need it.
the
But if
gift
you're
card.
doing a stipend or
Correct.
honorarium,
That's gonna-
For a gift card is the better option.
Yeah, see, that's where you have to kind of really figure out what you've got going on and which is the best route for you to take. So in that case, it's gonna be a gift card.
Whereas a stipend could be like $5.99, $600, get a gift card fee, $5.99.
There isn't that limitation. There is going to be a lot of eyes on it though, when it's so much on a gift card. It's gonna be a lot of eyes on it. We're gonna want to know a lot more about it.
we purchased through
Yeah.
Santa Anita's neighborhood. We purchased large denomination, like a lot of money,
$350.
plus, we're talking about like maybe $800,000.
We bought, last year we bought $6,000.
So even like the stores themselves, they have like, you can't purchase so many. Or you
Yeah,
can purchase
correct.
So many at one time, and come back another day.
I did
You have
not
to
know that
use- You have to
existed.
like show your ID and all that stuff, so, yeah. There is.
It's a big deal. And banking wise, it's a big deal. That's why that sign off is incredible. You can imagine. Anybody could go off and buy $600 worth of gift cards and go home. You know, they're paying themselves some money. If the controls have to be in place, it's critically important. So the responsibility is a big one. We need that sign off. That's exactly why we're asking. It's a big deal. So big dollars is a big thing. I honestly wouldn't suggest it. I don't. Unless there's a real solid reason.
But the gift card idea still works. I
Oh,
mean, you
yeah.
can use it for any of these things, just as long as you have the law.
Yeah, correct.
So if I'm giving a thank you for something, just do it at the meeting and get everybody's
Correct.
signature.
Simple as could be. Yeah, so if there's any kind of parameters, like you're saying, use a
And you
gift
don't
card.
use it.
It's fine.
Oh, that's great. So
It's a little bit tricky, not much, but it's there. I mean, it's a great thing. Ask some questions if needed. You know, like we just had a great conversation and came to a great conclusion on it. So go ahead.
Sorry, quick question. In regards to gift cards, if we're giving it to a minor, can the minor sign or does it have to be
It would have to be the adult.
the adult?
They don't have any signing rights at all.
Platicamos sobre, estamos hablando de regalos, los requisitos, en el negocio que se requiere para Charitable Ventures, que viene siendo la cantidad de la tarjeta, y al igual que lo tiene que dejar saber 2 semanas en antes, adelantado, para poder, para que se apruebe con ellos, y ya nosotros podemos ir a comprar. Nosotros somos los que vamos a comprar las tarjetas, ya sea de eso.
Actually, I realized I put 600 on here. I made my own mistake. Should be 599 or less, correcting myself. Okay, we've got this form, should be in the packet.
Page 11.
It's gonna give you your cheat sheet. This basically is kind of what we've just been discussing for the last 10 minutes or so. It's going to give you that kind of thorough, just go back over it. Each one is right there. Any questions, of course, immediately start with these guys and know that you can go from there, but it's a terrific resource for you. We just wanted to make sure you have that in your packet.
Y aquí esa tabla enseña más o menos cómo se pueden usar los fondos de tarjeta de regalo, como un pago, si fuera un tipo de gracias. Entonces ahí se dice cómo se puede usar. Lo es como si fuera un resumen de lo que se trató.
Okay, grants, donations, and fundraising. This could be its own planet, and if you want to have it one night, I'd be very happy to do a couple hours talking about this. But the grants part is in particular what I want to talk about. City-wise, I don't know enough about the grants. It's not my area. Maybe if you guys have any information just off the top of your heads about it, we could have a discussion. But from our part, please reach out and say, we have a need, or what is out there for the neighborhoods to be able to do. Got a good sense, of course, of what y'all are doing for events or what the needs are. But especially if you've got, let's say, a program that you've got kids doing basketball tournaments or something over a year for an express purpose. Those are the kind of things that fit into grants. They want to know that you're developing a strong sense of community through the kids developing, teamwork and all of that in your neighborhood. That is absolutely something that we could be looking into to find who out there is offering the grants for that. One of the biggest things I want you to know is never count on a grant for like the next 30 days. It won't happen. I'm going to contradict myself in a second, but grants I call calendar money. You put in the application, you might not hear for 2 months. Then you might not get the funds for another 30 days after you've been awarded. So it isn't something that you want to consider as quick. I need $30,000 in the bank. That's not the way to go about it. But when you're figuring out your year on that form that we talked about at the start, and you're going to need 20,000 throughout the year, let's go to bat for you and find out what we can do with some grants out there. This is where I'm now going to contradict myself. There is this incredibly wonderful grant. United Way is involved in backing it. It's called the VA 58 Neighborhood Grant Program. They are phenomenal. $5,000. It could be $1,000, $2,500, or $5,000. I haven't had anybody do less than the $5,000. It is a most simple little form. I've got the link I will send to these guys. I think you already have it already. We'll send this to you. You need to read all the specifics. It's nothing complex at all. There's $5,000 that they will grant you. Reporting is really simple. They are going to want to report 2 weeks after your event. It's a very simple report. What you're going to get is 25% as you're going into the event. Then once the report has been sent in, you get the other 75%. Now, dealing with Charitable Ventures, we may know, of course, that you've got the approval for this VA 58. I don't want to curse anybody, but we've not had anyone not get it. Okay, it's an amazing, small, great amount of funding. $5,000 is a wonderful amount of money. You have to spend it at the event. So even though you might want to keep it around for a while and pay other things, don't. It's got to be for the event. So please make sure you're thinking that way. But it is a fantastic grant. We can send out all the information. There is no reason why, in my estimation, every one of your neighborhoods should not be applying. They are wonderful. We literally got an email yesterday saying, we need to spend this money. They are out there. Pardon me?
Deadline.
Yeah, well, I'll explain right now. The deadline for having to put applications in and spend the money is March 31st. Okay.
Spend the money by March.
But basically what that can mean, so if you're going to have your event between now and then, or you can pre-plan all the buying for the event before March 31st, put that in. We have had this grant available for probably, I'm going to say 6 months now. And each time they've only gone out about 3 months. They just make it shorter, a short window. And then they extend it again. We don't know each time whether this is the last round, whether March 31st is going to be it and they won't offer it anymore, but they sure sound like it's going to go on. So we will keep you in touch with what's happening. If it is something where your things, your expenses are going to be X amount for your spring event and you can buy now, I'd be putting in an application for it. Let them know. I'm sorry.
Are there any obligations to get the money that you have to do?
On the form, it's going to ask you not only kind of what the mission is of the pertinent reason why you'd want this money, but also like the deeper detail about how it's going to affect their entire, you need to go on to the site and just read what they're all about. But basically their bottom line is they want to connect neighborhoods. That is what they're wanting to do. They also are very much, you're going to need to do something with COVID information. We've had some folks go so far as to put a button in their website that says, click here to get more COVID vaccination information. It's exactly what they're after. If you're doing a community event, then we're going to have some flyers that you're going to hand out. Maybe have some volunteers who are walking around. We've had others that go so far as to have a free clinic while they're spending the money. So they've got whoever still needs or wants a booster shot, it's there and available. So you do have that one part of a requirement. But other than that, really, we've had a myriad of events go on, but they have to have something to do with COVID.
Could you add a series of events? Like we do quite a few events during summertime. And would they let us divide those events into those that are just one swoop in big event?
You have to spend the money by a certain time, so I would say just do it within one event. Because you then have to go back and report to them before a certain timeline. So
So that kind of way, that's what I'm saying, like, if you know what you're gonna need expense wise, what you're gonna need to purchase for those events. You've already been doing them already, you sort of have your list, so you've got 3 events. You could go and purchase 4 events, but the event isn't done by March 31st.
We have events that will start.
Mhm.
To about August. Yeah.
But
We
you
don't
said they
need
might,
the whole 5,000.
I'm sorry, and
but you said they might potentially
they
extend
could
it.
potentially extend it. And
But they just-
I'm really hesitating because I have just been told, and I don't know enough about it. I gotta go do my homework. Where I've had one of our projects who actually did put like future things or spending was going to go through X time. And that was the first I'd heard and they were approved. So I don't know, honestly, I've got to go deeper into it, but I will let you guys know about what I found. And then we'll be able to have better discussions.
It doesn't hurt to try.
It doesn't hurt to try. And you know, if it's only 1,000, then that's good. Apply for the 1,000. It's 1,000, 2,505 on the drop down. So you have options.
So you're saying perhaps if you apply and are given the grant, perhaps you can spend the money and have the receipts and show you spend it, but your event isn't until the fall
Mhm.
when you're going to use the things you purchased. So that,
So of course, not perishables, but you might be able to get the t-shirts that you're needing or
yeah.
a list of things, everything that you're needing. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Buy your practical things that you know
Craft
you're going to need.
supplies.
Yeah, there you go. Backpacks or tote bags, whatever the world you're going to need. I will check that to be sure. And it's literally, I can make a call to them and just ask. They're really, really good. This is the one grant I can tell you is fast money. You put the application in, you're going to hear within about 2 weeks. You're going to get the money, 25%. But this is what I was beginning to tell you with Charitable Ventures. We know that you're going to get 5,000. That's what you've been approved for, but you don't have 5,000 in the bank. You're only getting 25%. We're okay knowing that with the debit card being used by these guys, that you can spend your 5,000, you're not overdrawing. We know that money, as soon as the event's done, you turn in your report, you're going to get the balance of the money right away. So we are good with knowing that we've got that money in place already. My job is to make sure that report gets in, and then once that's done, you get the rest of the money into the account. So by the time the debit card comes through, it's all done. We've got you covered. So it is a really nice float, I call it, grant. It's wonderful. It's a really, really good grant. That's the only one I know that's fast money.
Lo voy a resumir muy rápido, igual tenemos una vez, DA 58, se toma más o menos 2 semanas, cuando entrega una aplicación, puede presentar hasta por $100,000 y que le da la concesión de pagar a 25% de esa cantidad para poder hacer sus compras, pero tienen que los fondos se tienen que usar en una línea de tiempo que ya está, ya está programada hasta como que ya está el último de esos 31 de marzo. Pero la organización tiene diferencia donde la vuelven a abrir otra vez para el futuro. Pero hay fondos donde se pueden hacer un poco más rápido, pero tienen que pues, aplicar y también al final reportar el uso de los fondos.
So Annie, the bottom line is basically we're here to help. I do know, thinking like Republic Services even has a grant also that they offer. So there's city ones too that are out there. So between us all, there's lots of resources ready to go. I'm not going to go into the donations or fundraising. Does anybody have quick questions? I truly think this is going to need to be its own kind of an evening. I want to get into it because it's obviously something y'all need to do. Is there any I don't know, frustration points that I could quick go over for donations wise? You were talking about the fact that it went into the CV account. Yeah, it does. I mean, that's the easiest way. QR code, it's your friend. If it is as simple as, excuse me for pulling this is your flyer for the event. They're handing it out, and this is what's also on your website. You've got a QR code right down here that anybody walking around or anybody who's on that can pick up their phone, and they're immediately linked right to your donation. You know, I'm going to do X amount, or here's one for $50 or 25 or 10, whatever you're doing. You want a QR code on everything. You want a QR code on flyers that is there at the event. You want it up and around the area so that somebody, if they get real moved by what you're doing, which they should, then they're able to, you're going to point out, we've got a QR code there. If you can donate, we would be most appreciative. It's going to let us put on more events in our neighborhood.
Administration fees, I just wanted to explain about CBOX administration fees for doing all the back end paperwork.
We do have a fee. That's basically one of the ways that we keep our doors open. So it's basically 10% of what's going to come into your account is going to be a fee. So if you have throughout the year $20,000, $2,000 is what we would take as our fee for administrating everything that we do. So we will always let you know ahead when the fees, and they do take it at the end of the year, but you're notified. I don't think you are notified. I think you guys are.
Yeah, so how it works, being under Santa Ana grants for blocks, the city actually covers those fees. So when you receive those donations, we pay out of our general fund. So it doesn't come out of your donation. Yeah, so that's what's great about being under Santa Ana grants for blocks.
So.
So in a nutshell, if somebody wanted to first page, they donate to our account.
Yeah, there is a link that we can send you that literally would take you to your neighborhood page, which is on our site. And there's right there, they can donate right at that site. So each of your neighborhoods has its own page ready to go. We'll send you a link so everybody could use that. That's what would go on that QR code. Your particular links all should each be used. But it's right there. It literally would take you to that page. It does go into the CV account. So if you've got other accounts, you would need that link if you're trying to put it into another account. So just plan where your money wants to be at the end.
And who creates the QR?
It's super simple. Basically, go on Canva. It's free. You literally can type in QR code. I've got a whole thing about how to do it. Really easy to do. I will send this out. Do you use
Yeah.
Canva at all? It's super easy.
No, I don't
It's
know.
honestly going to take you about 10 minutes.
Okay.
There's nothing to it. And then you've got it and it's there and it's good for like anything you want to put it on. Super,
Yeah.
super easy. Yeah, it's great. So
Yeah.
QR codes are. Only the first time. Because you have to make it the first time. You know. Okay, any other questions? I think we're just about getting there. Event
I think
highlights?
we're one of the last couple slides, but I think something that is really important for all of your programming events as neighborhood association and organizations is highlighting that, essentially capturing those moments that will lead to other supporters that can continue to support your events, future events. So highlighting, pictures, setting them up on your social media, quick stories to capture at the end of the day, you want to be able to convey the impact that you're having through your event, your programming. I know Penny Bickford, his event, he recorded a couple videos as like thank yous to those that supported him. And then at the end of the event, we're able to send them out to those folks that donated to him so that the next year comes around, they'll have him in mind that it's actually appreciative of the donation and he's able to convey the impact to let's see, documentation, we've been talking about all these documentation is super important. We can't stress that enough, so capturing, if you have events that require sign-in sheets, we want to be able to collect that information, to be able to build your contact database. Since all of you, or most of you are neighborhood days, that's how you essentially get the word out if you're hosting a meeting or an event, you can do targeted communications through sign-in sheets. The total of attendees, you want to be able to convey that to potential donors, how many people are being impacted by the work that you are doing. And lastly, the evaluation of the actual event. That's really important. Like what are some of the things that went well? What are the things that didn't go so well? and things that you'd want to incorporate or change in the future. So those are the three things that we wanted to stress. Queríamos platicar sobre la importancia de lo que es tomar fotos durante el evento para poder comunicar el impacto que está teniendo en el vecindario, en la comunidad, a las personas que lo están apoyando, ya son fondos o que son voluntarios, para que para el próximo evento la gente quiera asistir o quiera ser voluntario o quiera seguir apoyando sus eventos. También es importante en lo que es documentar los nombres, la cantidad de gente que está atendiendo los eventos. Así para cuando usted tenga reuniones, se pueda comunicar con ellos nuevamente para que sepan lo que está haciendo. Y por último, es evaluar el evento, platicar ya sea con el grupo que organizó el evento, qué es lo que fue bien, qué es lo que no salió tan bien, y ya quisieran cambiar, ¿verdad? para sus eventos futuros.
Can I go back just for a second? I don't know if Felipe even knows the video that you did was put onto our site on Charitable Ventures and it went out. So it goes all over the place. You guys are great about your Instagram pages. Make sure that these guys have it and it gets to us. We want to share it. We'll put it out there. We'd love to have it. Gets into newsletters and it gets onto our sites and our Instagram and LinkedIn. We do all of that. So please use us. We would love to have any kind of videos. They were terrific, by the way. They were really, really good. They did great. The document the names, every single grant that you're going to write has a little summary that they're going to want to know what you're doing out there. So if you're able to say in the last 5 years, we have developed from 50, young adults we're now at 200 adults that are being community wise and, going out and doing there. You need to know that information, have kind of that data to back up. Short, simple, sweet, but the only way you're going to know it is by documenting all of that. Just get those quick numbers. How many were there? If you want to get sponsors, how many people are going to be there? How many were last year? How much effect did you have? Those sponsors are going to want to know that. That's your sell point right there. And then just evaluating afterwards, what went right? What went wrong? You want to change it, but what went right? What worked? How many volunteers did you have? And even more important, how many returning volunteers did you have? It's a huge point. I call them legacy volunteers. How much more of an honor can you have if you've got somebody showing up every year? You want to know that. Somebody you want to do at the end of the year is to honor them, but also just to know what you've got going on. Don't want to go on too long. Thank you. Go ahead. Okay, we talked about this real briefly. If you have any notion that you might want to, and you guys have already done this, if you would want to move into being your own 501c3, you can. There are ways. It is a lengthy proposition to get through, about a year, 8 months, 6-8 months in order for the IRS part to even become its own entity. But basically, you can go through steps to be your own. It means you are taking on all of the responsibility of what we've been talking about tonight. One of the reasons we are putting you through all those steps is not just practicality and compliance. It is because you're learning. And you very much then can step up and run a nonprofit. Your neighborhood might want to. We've got a person sitting right here whose neighborhood is their own 501c3. So it's a big step. You absolutely can do it. Some want nothing to do with it. We are absolutely fine with you staying with us. We are absolutely fine. Please stay with us. We have no problem at all. But there's some that get big enough and really, truly should be running their own. It's a large enough entity. The other part is you could come under Charitable Ventures like Santa Ana Grants or Blocks are. We will take you on. There are some fees. We'll go through all of that with you, but we need to know that you basically are going to be your own 501c3, but you're using our number, just more direct. You're moving up a level, if you will, from underneath Santa Ana Grants or Blocks and just moving up into where you'd be dealing with me directly. Both those are available steps. Some may not even want anything to do with it, and it's fine. Absolutely stay where you are. We're very happy with what you're doing. No problem at all. I think I want to thank you guys very much, very, very, very much. Fantastic questions. From my part, is there any pressure point or an area that you're feeling like I just don't understand or I would like more information about?
No, it's just for setting and any permits for like music. their timeframes, any of that, like let's say you have some sort of event on a Saturday morning. Is
Well,
there anything like that that we need to think about permitting?
yeah, you need a permit for amplified sound, music, someone speaking, you'll see that.
Yeah, that would be through the city. So through the special events process, just make sure you let them know and then they'll let you know what other permits will be needed. In terms of like paying the musician, that goes through Charitable Ventures if you're using money out of that account. Just make sure, weeks in advance, you give us their W-9, what the agreement is, all of that.
It would be considered like a.
Mhm. Anything else?
When you have a chance, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that next step. I mean, as a neighborhood, we've decided not to become a 501c3 because I think either we were turned down or just it's too cumbersome. That maybe that middle ground would fit us better.
Happy to-
So are we able to see the packets that other neighborhoods have submitted? Or say like council members, they have events, and we see the packets that they submitted, just as an example, as a template. How did they do it? There's a lot of things going on down on Fourth Street that you don't necessarily do, but other entities, block off streets and you see those packets. Are those
You mean like what
public record?
permits are needed?
More of a city, I guess, question. The packet that got submitted through your department, OCFA, all that.
I don't
Do
think.
you keep record of that and it's a public record?
I don't think it's public record. We could just give you like the blank form that was
I wanna
submitted, but
see,
not.
like, oh, they got it approved.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Uh-huh,
Just as an example, how did they do it?
yeah,
And we're not doing
It
that.
might be a public
Change
records. But I don't know how much information. There's so many agencies that are already coming together to review the special events. Like,
What does that get filed? That's just my
Application?
question is. 'Cause I
Yeah.
have specific events. I'm like, wow, that way went off
I
without a hitch. I'd love to copy and paste
I think it,
what they did.
if, for example, like, if you were to connect with a neighbor, like, for example, like, Eddie Fit, he's also having to submit the same, or, Seneca would take part for her event. Essentially, it would be that's the information that you're requesting, right?
Well, like on Fourth Street,
Application.
specifically on Fourth Street, how they close off, Flower Street, how they, just, yeah, how they go about it. What did that?
So those are-
packet look like?
Or-
So
I
maybe
can get back to, I can
Yeah,
get back to
please
you on
do.
that.
I love
Uh,
that.
yeah.
I love that.
So only down the street, it kind of depends on how many people are on that street too. And that's how close it is, how you know those people, because there might be 3 or 4 that you won't do it. I mean, both, let's close it down, so that is a lot to do with it. And finding a street that is suitable, that everybody's on board about your events. If you know that there are 10 rowdy people on that street, there's no way. There's no persuasion, it's just a matter of finding one that's suitable, and that's how most of these events are built, because we try different areas, and we go to the area that says, oh, we know that this for our Christmas carol, we know that this neighborhood has a whole bunch of Christmas lights. They have the Virgin Mary there, they have all kinds of things outside that shows that they're friendly. And then the other street, this blank, then I wouldn't go on that street. So
That's what I would honestly tell you. You've got experience living here. I think
Yeah.
that might help you a whole lot.
So usually you have to have a certain percentage of neighbors on that street sign up. Or
80%.
business.
Oh, no, yeah, I understand all that.
I think she was talking about like a big city block that's not within the neighborhood.
That's
but
a-
Yeah.
bigger.
Some of the events.
So if a
they
business
probably-
have to pay.
And I'm thinking, man, they know.
Go buy a
So-
cup of coffee and
The
pick
bus-
the brand,
I do know that business
Yeah.
downtown, when they want to close the street, the fee is really high. I think it's like 20 or 30 grand, just to like process their permits. It's very expensive in downtown.
About the parking lot, like,
Yeah, so like, for example, like the blue lot, that because that is private property, you'd have to make arrangements with the property owner. But you would, if you're gonna sell something, then you would have to get land use certificate through the city to be able to do yourselves. On private property.
The parking lot on Third and Bush, the parking lot itself, that's also like goes into the.
Yeah, that you'd have to, you also have to submit a special event and then request to like close the parking lot for use. But I believe there's a pretty big fee for that as well.
So my
That
question,
might work.
But that's
honestly.
the Parks and Recreation will be able to answer those questions regarding like their costs for all the different like lots on this, like in the city. Yeah,
so my question was, so now the city has a special events team,
it's a-
or, so from now on, that special events team is who handles every single event in the city, or?
so
or
there's
like
mul-
you just mentioned?
yeah, so there's multiple
special events?
agencies that get together once a week. Our office has a seat in the table, if you will. When it comes to neighborhood events, we're able to like share and, you know, people might have questions, like, you know, when Fisher Square had their street closure. And they're requesting the police department to be there, the fire engine, so all those questions, like we would be able to answer those things. Everyone else is talking about the events that are happening throughout the city. So that's where you have Orange County Fire Authority, there's the police planning or plan check, which is Beverly Martin. You have public works, you have traffic engineers, you know, advising whether or not streets should be closed, all these.
So what I'm trying to understand is, what I'm understanding is that you guys have some type of like a committee,
There is,
or you guys sit different, you know, let's say, public works and, parks and recs. So everybody sits on the table, you guys discuss the different, events that will be happening.
yes, we discuss all the events that are happening in the city. We talk about whether it's at downtown or at the neighborhood level as well.
How often do you guys?
We meet once a week. Yeah, at times, if there's no updates, then there isn't a meeting, but we meet, yeah, we meet every week.
Oh, so that way everyone's in the state picture, everyone's in.
Yeah, everyone knows what's going on. Yeah,
And honestly, I would truly suggest, if you do want to go big and they're already doing it, volunteer at their next event.
that's just.
Is that what you're chatting? Yeah, okay, it's just, you see what I'm saying? Jump into the big event that you want to know more about. Get to know whoever it is, you get their experience under your belt, then you could go back to your neighborhood with a whole lot more information. So it might not be this year you're doing it, but you'd be volunteering. to do it.
Perhaps you might be asking because, for example, I event, I had a really tough time getting things done and getting my. That's one of the things that I. I was trying to event. As to when someone does an event in downtown, they get everything approved within days. And so that's the difference. That's what we were kind of like thinking, wait a minute. Is it different for businesses than for residents? And that's what I wanted to find out. You have like a committee, you know, that's why. So I was thinking maybe businesses have different committee and residents have a different committee.
Yeah, no, it's the same.
Um,
But ultimately, each agency is responsible to ensure that all the different like, areas are being thoroughly being checked. For example, risk management is like one of those big ones, like insurance, a big deal of insurance. But yeah, I mean, if you have questions regarding timelines, that's something that we can discuss. We are planning on having a special events training. I believe in the month of April. Last year we had it in the month of April as well. So I think we're aiming at April again. So more information to come on that. And as you all may know, the city and each agency, they all have different like requirements that are changing. And so even for us at times, it's a little hard to kind of keep up. And so we rely on them to you know, we're having issues and try to find solutions. Our office is really solution based to help you all have successful events.
So this is the form. Start with this, you guys. Go back and figure out. I am very, 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 very happy that I've got to be involved with this tonight. Not only to meet you all, which is big for me, But these guys have been unbelievable, and I mean it sincerely. There have been many a call where it's like, good heavens, we've got so much going on, 'cause you're busy, and please go out and be busy. That's exactly what this is all about. I'm super proud of Santa Ana. I don't live here, but I do a lot here. I'm a docent at Bowers Museum, and I work here in Santa Ana, and I have to tell you, the city's amazing. I honestly feel that way. It is remarkable what they're doing for these neighborhoods, but it's also because of every person that's sitting here. So thank you all extremely much for what you're doing. You're bringing life into an area. It's that simple. That's great. So thank you very much for your concern and your love for your neighborhood.
Before we close, we have a couple announcements. If you didn't already know, the school district is now allowing neighborhoods to meet in the schools. If you would like to meet in the school, please contact Alyssa or myself so we can reserve the facilities at the school district. That's the first one. The second thing was.
The dumpster request?
Yes, dumpster. The dumpster program has been live and running. Some of you may have already taken advantage of that service. If you haven't, you could reach out to us via the website. There's a form that you'll complete, and then you'll get a call or an email from Christian. He's our senior office administrator or assistant, and he'll work out all the details to ensure that Republic Services delivers the containers. Yes.
Question on the form. So I think we can get up to 5, but the form only lists 3 addresses that you can put in there.
Yeah, so you just put that in. If there's a comment section, you can even write that in. Or when you talk to Christian, you can talk to him about all those details. Yes. And we were having some technical difficulties with the form early on where if a previous person had chosen, like, let's say 2, then the next person couldn't choose 2. They would have to choose 1 or 3, but eventually that got worked out. But if you do encounter some issues, call us. There's a number there. You call Christian and he'll get the reservations on free.
We had our big cleanup last October, right when the Republic was fairly new, and they were great. They did such a good job. We were very impressed.
And if they're not doing a good job, please let us know.
Oh, we will.
Because it's a very large contract. It's a contract with the city. And so Public Works is the agency that like talks to Republic Services. And so eventually we'll want the neighborhoods to have direct communication with Public Works if you encounter an issue. So whether you are working with apartment complexes or the residential areas, we get that at least one of us will get something every week.
Do we need to make sure someone is taking care of the dumpster, or do Republic assign? Last time we had Waste Management was like so kind, and they said, oh no, we have someone to sign, and they did add it. So I was like, well.
No.
Okay,
Unfortunately, for this program, the neighborhood leader has to be
make sure.
either neighborhood leader or they can assign someone else. Yeah.
Okay.
We've never had this.
Time. I'm just thinking, again, is everyone like 5-week calendar years? Like, you asked about planning early enough ahead, so I'm thinking, okay, well, I didn't know the calendar to this, but it's kind of ongoing.
It's ongoing as far as I know.
And it's not gonna end like this, the blocks and charitable ventures, that's not having like. Been around for I don't know how many years. No, it's continuing on, 100%.
And if the program does decide to sunset, eventually we'll have to communicate that to you all, but that hasn't been a conversation at all.
I think that the only timeline would be the donations from the city council members. So they get, new money in
Yes.
July 1st, right? They get like 10 grand per council member. So if you want to ask for money, you ask for it to start towards May, they're tapped out. They'll have no more money until July 1st to request city donation. $1,000.
but that's their, like,
Yeah, but that's.
budget calendar.
It's not necessarily.
So that's good information, right? there.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Right, well, thank you all for being here this evening. Like we said, if there's any other questions that might come up after, please feel free to reach out to us. Please help yourself on the way out.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Yeah, I felt like. it's exactly what I wanted to go.